Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 97, and today I'm actually going to be talking about the Build Back Better Act that was recently passed through the House and is on its way off to the Senate. But there were a couple of changes that were actually made to this particular act in regards to hearing aids being provided under Medicare. So I want to talk about some of the new modifications to that and some of the contentions that individuals have, including myself, with these either modifications or just things inside of the act in general. Now, if you have not yet seen my review of me talking about this particular act in regards to the hearing aids being provided under Medicare, you can go back and check out my vlog. It was vlog number 94 where I was talking about this particular subject. With that said, if you guys could do me a huge favor and click the like button, it really helps to support the channel, encourages me to make more videos like this one and do a lot more research on the weekends instead of hanging out with Ashley. So if you could do that, I appreciate it. And of course, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that, because that ensures that you get to see my newly released videos. With all of that said, let's go ahead and get into some of the modifications that occurred since the last video that I made on this particular topic. And one of the modifications is that it actually lowered the threshold for being able to qualify for hearing aids under Medicare. It was severe to profound levels of hearing loss. Now it is moderately severe to profound levels of hearing loss. So it actually lowered the threshold down to make it easier for individuals to qualify for hearing aids under Medicare. So pretty much a good thing. The one aspect of contention within this is that it's still very kind of up in the air with the qualifications for who would actually qualify for hearing aids. And just like any insurance program, if you have this loosely defined subjective aspect to it, it is going to end up being a thing where insurance fraud is at play. So, and I guarantee you that there's going to be a significant amount of insurance fraud. Either individuals are going to manipulate test results in order to qualify for hearing aids, or hearing care professionals potentially could say that the hearing loss isn't as bad in order to make those individuals private pay for hearing aids instead of having to go through Medicare with all the restrictions that would likely carry with it. So that's one of the modifications that was included, was actually lowering the threshold for being able to qualify for hearing aids. The second modification is that the exclusion of hearing aids from competitive bidding when furnished by a physician or other practitioner to their own patients as part of a professional service. Now, typically suppliers will submit bids to provide certain, devices or items or supplies to individuals who are going to be receiving these through Medicare. And I have to imagine that this makes hearing aid manufacturers extremely happy, because they don't actually have to bid for them being able to provide their devices within Medicare. So they can continue to charge whatever they want for this particular technology. And I know that the hearing aid manufacturers are likely trying to get this top-up thing accomplished, which means that even if Medicare only covers a certain level of technology, let's say that the consumer, the end user, the beneficiary of Medicare would actually be able to pay the difference to upgrade technology. So this is a win-win for hearing aid manufacturers, meaning that they basically have a guaranteed sale, and they also are going to be able to make better, profits if a patient is allowed to pay for the next higher level of technology. Now, I also agree with this, but I agree with it from the perspective of this allows a patient to get a better hearing aid, even though when you start to look at, because the clinician, like myself, we have to pay more money to the manufacturers to get those devices in, so we don't benefit as much of having an individual pay for an upgrade in technology, where hearing aid manufacturers, it's a huge incentive for them. So we'll see what happens with that. But nonetheless, the point of contention with that is that there's essentially unregulation of the cost of hearing aids, even though Medicare is paying for them, which seems kind of odd, but it is what it is. I'm sure I'll get more clarification with that as time goes on. A couple of different points of contention. So there were individuals from my previous vlog who kind of raised flags of hey, Cliff, do you realize that what you were saying in that vlog, some of it is actually a bad thing, and they explained to me why. They reached out. I've had talks with multiple individuals to kind of get more clarification on it. Now, as you guys know, I am in full support of hearing instrument specialists being able to dispense hearing aids through Medicare, and dispense hearing aids in general. But the problem with the way that things are worded inside of the Build Back Better Act is that it includes hearing instrument specialists essentially as providers of audiology services. Now, it's important to understand that hearing instrument specialists are not audiologists. Their scope of practice is limited to the evaluation for hearing aids, and that is it. There is no additional scope of practice for them to practice audiology on individuals with hearing loss. Now, again, I am not saying that hearing instrument specialists should be removed from this particular act, but I am saying that they should essentially reword it, either to create essentially a subcategory that specifically outlines what a hearing instrument specialist can do in terms of selecting hearing devices and fitting hearing devices to a Medicare recipient, but they should not be included as practitioners inside of Medicare for audiology services. Now, there are a ton of different audiology services, and individuals who are audiologists, they went to school. It's a very structured program that they go to be able to diagnose and treat hearing loss. Hearing instrument specialists, they have a very, I would say, random training. I mean, you can have a high school degree or a GED and then ultimately shadow someone for I think a couple of years and get your hearing instrument specialist license. But I really think it's a slippery slope when you start expanding the scope of practice to individuals who haven't been trained on the things that they would have to be able to do inside of that scope of practice. I know I'm going to take a lot of heat for this. And again, I want to make sure that I'm clear here. I have nothing against hearing instrument specialists. My Best Practice Pro network, I allow hearing instrument specialists to be inside of the network if they've proven to be competent and actually follow best practices when providing care to individuals with hearing loss, but they should not be diagnosing individuals with hearing loss. They should be conducting testing for the purpose of fitting individuals with hearing aids. There's nothing wrong with that, but in terms of how things are written out currently in this bill, that has to change. There's no way that should be able to stay in there the way that it currently is. Now, with all that, the second point of contention that it just boggles my mind, because audiologists are the experts when it comes to treating hearing loss, and to think that individuals would have to go through their physician to get an order to get a hearing test, and the experts on providing hearing tests are audiologists, to think that they would have to go and get an order from a physician to have Medicare pay for their hearing test or their audiology services or whatever through Medicare, I think that's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. This is something that we've been fighting for a while. It just adds costs to individuals with hearing loss, and it delays treatment for individuals with hearing loss, and it's relying on arguably a profession who does not understand hearing loss as well as an actual audiologist does, who controls whether or not someone can actually get a hearing test provided through Medicare. So it just seems silly to me how they wouldn't change that as well. You're already kind of opening up and calling audiologist practitioners inside of Medicare. Take it the step further and remove this physician order requirement that is bad for basically everybody. Even the physicians who are like, okay, I get, they're just being bombarded with requests to send an order to an audiologist so a hearing test can be done and billed to Medicare. So it's silly when you really think about it. But those are really the main things that I wanted to talk about here, as this particular act was essentially approved through the House. Very minimal changes to it. Hearing aids within Medicare is basically, I think, the only change that was made to Medicare in this. Everything else was removed, which kind of shows you where the influence of money lies, I guess I would say. If certain health services were going to be included inside of Medicare, and the lobbyists were successful at getting those things pulled out, and the lobbyists on the other side were successful at keeping things in. So that just kind of shows you where the incentive lies in terms of money when it comes to including this stuff inside of Medicare. The other thing here is that just because the House approved this does not mean that this is in its final form. There are going to be changes to some degree done by the Senate, and the Senate might not even approve any of this. They're really in a rush to try to get this thing to happen before Christmas, because then you start having midterm elections happening, and that kind of throws things all up in the air, and things tend not to get done because everyone just cares about getting reelected at the midterm. So who knows if and when this will actually go through? Who knows if hearing aids stay inside of this? There are some, I would say, rather conservative Democrat politicians inside of the Senate who may not like any or all of this, and who may just refuse to vote on this. And even if things are approved through the Senate, it all has to go back to the House again to get re-voted on. But if it makes it back to the House, you can rest assured that it is probably going to be voted on and passed essentially at that point in time. So again, a lot of this stuff speculation, just kind of like my thoughts on all of this, where it's at, where it's going. We'll see if this ultimately ends up being a good thing for individuals with hearing loss or a bad thing for individuals with hearing loss, because it could quite honestly go either way. We'll see if this actually increases the quality of care of hearing treatment, or rather just increases accessibility to hearing treatment. But there's arguments to be made across the board of whether or not accessibility is more important than quality, and vice versa. To be quite honest with you, we need a combination of the both of them. So whatever ends up getting passed, if it has the ability to allow individuals to still receive high quality of care by getting hearing aids through Medicare, and then individuals who have affordability issues or accessibility issues, if those individuals can at least get something to treat their hearing loss, that's a positive as well. But I don't see why this can't be a win-win for everybody involved. And really, that's what I hope it ends up becoming. Because if it ends up being a win-lose situation, things are going to get ugly out there in the real world when it comes down to treating hearing loss and treating hearing loss successfully. So that is really all that I wanted to talk about today, guys. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. This is still Thanksgiving weekend. I'm enjoying some time with family, but if you guys like this video, like I said before, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. And that being said, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.